Victoria Ashford believed that every tragedy in her life had begun in a blind spot. A moment unseen, a person unobserved, a truth hidden just beyond the edge of her vision. So she eliminated the darkness. Her estate in Greenwich, Connecticut, had 47 cameras, microphones embedded in walls that cost more than most houses, motion sensors that tracked every footstep across marble floors. She was not afraid of thieves. Before we continue this incredible story, if you believe in the power of kindness and love stories that remind us what really matters, please subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Hit that like button and drop a comment telling us about a time when someone's kindness changed your perspective. Your support helps us share more stories that warm the heart and inspire the soul. She was afraid of people. The last time she trusted someone without evidence, she lost everything that mattered. So now her faith lived in data alone, until the night a janitor walked through her door and never once looked up at the cameras watching him. His name was Daniel Mercer, and he came through a staffing agency that specialized in discretion. 41 years old widower, father to a 9-year-old daughter named Sophie. His background check was clean, his references were unremarkable, and his interview had lasted exactly 7 minutes, because he answered every question with the minimum number of words required. Victoria had not conducted that interview. Her household manager had, but she watched the recording afterward. The way she watched everything, and what struck her was not what Daniel said, but what he did not do. He did not try to impress anyone. He did not ask about the estate or its owner. He did not make small talk or attempt to establish rapport. He simply stated his qualifications, confirmed his availability for the night shift, and waited in silence until he was dismissed. The agency had sent him to fill a gap in her staff. The previous night, Janitor had quit without notice, claiming the overnight hours were affecting his health. Victoria suspected the real reason was the cameras. Some people could not tolerate being watched. Daniel Mercer did not seem to notice them at all. His first shift began at 11 in the evening and ended at 7 in the morning. Victoria watched the first hour from her study on the second floor. The security feed displayed across 3 monitors that showed the main corridors, the kitchen and the east wing. He moved through her house like a man who understood that every action carried weight. His mop strokes were deliberate. His footsteps were measured. He wore a gray uniform that the agency provided, and he kept his sleeves rolled to the elbow despite the chill that settled into the house after midnight. There was something almost meditative about the way he worked. No wasted motion, no distraction. He cleaned the marble floors of the main foyer with the same attention he gave to the utility closet near the garage. Every task received his full presence, as though the work itself deserved respect, regardless of whether anyone was watching. And yet there was urgency beneath the calm. Victoria noticed it first around 3 things. In the morning, when Daniel checked his watch for the 4th time in an hour, his pace quickened almost imperceptibly. His movements became more efficient, trimmed of any gesture that did not serve the task at hand. It was subtle enough that a casual observer would have missed it entirely. But Victoria was not a casual observer. She had spent 15 years in private equity before retiring at 43, and her fortune had been built on her ability to read the space between what people said and what they meant. Daniel Mercer was hiding something, not in the obvious way, not with lies or misdirection, but in the way a man hides a wound he does not want anyone to see. He finished his shift 12 minutes early and left through the service entrance without speaking to anyone. The cameras tracked him to his car, a 12-year-old Honda Civic with a dented passenger door, and he drove away into the pre-dawn gray. Victoria rewound the footage. She watched it again, frame by frame, searching for the tell she knew was there. She saw it in the kitchen. At 2:47 a.m., he had finished mopping and was wringing out the mop head into the industrial sink. As he did, his shoulders slumped for just a moment, a profound and silent exhaustion that seemed to leak through his disciplined posture before he visibly straightened, as if chastising himself for the lapse. There was a crack in the facade, and Victoria felt a familiar, icy curiosity. The next night, Daniel returned. Victoria watched with heightened focus. The pattern repeated. Impeccable silent work for the first half of the shift. Then the almost imperceptible tightening. The covert glances at his watch, the increased tempo. At 3:15 a.m. he stopped in the library. He wasn't supposed to clean it. The day staff handled the more delicate rooms. He stood in the doorway for a full minute, looking not at the books, but at a large, framed photograph on the wall. It was a picture of Victoria, years younger, standing with a man on a sailboat, both of them laughing into a wind that swept their hair back. Victoria felt a jolt. It was a photograph from a life she had sealed away. Daniel's expression, captured in high definition, was unreadable. Not curious, not voyeuristic. It was something closer to recognition. He then turned and walked away, resuming his duties. Victoria could no longer remain passive. Her data was giving her a signal, but it was incomplete. On the third night, she descended from her study at 3 a.m. She wore a simple silk robe and moved with the quiet confidence of someone who owned every molecule of space around her. She found him in the East Wing, polishing the brass fittings on a series of antique doors. He did not startle when she appeared. He simply paused, set his cloth down, and turned to face her, his hands at his sides. "Mr. Mercer," she said, her voice cool in the vast hallway. "You are efficient." "Thank you, ma'am," he replied, his voice a low, quiet rumble. He did not call her Miss Ashford. He did not ask why she was awake. He waited. "You check your watch frequently after 3 a.m., Victoria stated. It was not a question. A flicker in his eyes, a minuscule tightening of the skin around them. "I have a schedule to keep. The agency provides a checklist. The agency's checklist does not require synchronicity with a personal deadline." She countered. "You are hiding something. Is it a second job? A debt you're running from?" Daniel met her gaze directly for the first time. His eyes were a tired, gentle brown. "I'm not stealing from you, ma'am. You can review every frame. I am not concerned with theft. I'm concerned with truth. This house has no blind spots for me, except it seems for you." He looked at her for a long moment. Then his shoulders relaxed, not in defeat, but in a surrender to an inevitable truth. "My daughter," he said, the words simple and heavy. "Sophie. She's in the hospital. The pediatric oncology ward at Greenwich General. The night shift. It's the only way I can pay for what the insurance won't cover and still be with her during the day. The nurses, they let me stay from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. She's afraid of the dark when the treatments make her sick." He paused, the only sound the distant hum of the mansion's climate control. "At 3 a.m. she wakes. It's the pain or the fever. She calls me. I have 5 minutes in a supply closet or an empty room to talk her back to sleep, to remind her I'm there. That's why I check my watch. That's why I finish early, to have those 5 minutes of quiet for her call. I'm sorry if it affected my work." Victoria stood perfectly still. The data points rearranged themselves in her mind. The widower status, the modest car, the profound exhaustion, the urgency, the lack of interest in her wealth. They were not the coordinates of a threat, but of a siege, a father holding a tiny, fragile line against a world of darkness. The blind spot was not in her security system, but in her interpretation. She had been looking for malice and found only love. A love so demanding it transformed a man into a ghost, who polished brass in the dead of night to keep a promise. "What is her prognosis?" Victoria asked, her voice softer now. "Hopeful," Daniel said, and the words seemed to cost him. 70% chance, but the journey is long." Victoria nodded. She looked past him at the perfect sterile order of her world, a world built to keep tragedy out, but which had also kept humanity out. "Your shift ends at 7, she said. "From tomorrow, you will begin at 10 p.m. and end at 4 a.m. Your pay will be doubled. The agency will be compensated accordingly and informed it is a performance bonus. The extra 3 hours in the morning will allow you to rest before you go to her." Daniel's composure broke. His eyes glistened, and he looked down at the floor, a muscle working in his jaw. I can't accept charity." "It is not charity," Victoria said, the private equity negotiator re-emerging with a new deal. "It is an investment in employee retention and performance. A tired janitor is more likely to damage a marble floor. I am protecting my assets. And you are an asset, Mr. Mercer. Your daughter needs you alert. This is a transactional efficiency. He understood the fiction she was offering him, a fiction that allowed him to keep his dignity. He gave a slow, grateful nod. Thank you. As he returned to his work, Victoria went back to her study, but she did not watch the feeds. Instead, she looked out the window at the first hint of dawn. For years, she had believed faith lived in data alone, but data she now saw was inert. It was the human lens that gave it meaning. Daniel Mercer had not been hiding a wound from her. He had been carrying a lighthouse for someone else. And in bearing witness to it, Victoria felt a long dormant part of herself stir, not the impulse to control, but the impulse to connect. She picked up her phone and made 2 calls. The first was to her personal assistant, instructing her to arrange for a specialist from Sloan, Kettering to consult on Sophie Mercer's case, all expenses quietly covered. The second was to the head of the staffing agency, ensuring Daniel's new schedule and terms were locked in. The next night, the cameras recorded Daniel Mercer at work. At 3 a.m., he checked his watch and slipped into a servant's pantry. On the audio feed, Victoria heard his voice, low and tender. Hey, sweetheart. I'm right here. Yes, I'm working. Tell me about the dream. Victoria listened for a moment. Then she did something she hadn't done in years. She switched off the monitor. She created a blind spot, willingly, purposefully. Not every truth needed to be observed to be believed. Some truths, the most important ones, operated on a different frequency, one of trust, of whispered encouragement. In a dark hour of a deal struck not for profit but for grace, she left the screen dark and sat in the quiet, understanding that in finally seeing Daniel Mercer, she had also begun to see a way back to the world. The tragedy that began her isolation had been real, but it was not the only story left to tell. Sometimes, the very systems you build to protect yourself from the dark can also show you the pinpricks of light, if only you learn to look at them correctly. And with that, Victoria Ashford allowed the night to hold its secrets, knowing that some forms of watching were simply a different way of looking away, and that real sight often began when you turned the screen off. Thank you for watching this story of hidden wounds and unexpected kindness. If this narrative touched you, please consider supporting our channel, Kindness True Stories, where we explore the profound impact of compassion in everyday life. Your engagement helps us share more such tales. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel for weekly stories, and share this with someone who might need a reminder of the light that persists, often in the most unseen corners of our world.